the game of life and how to play it. I want to go over 5 big ideas from this book by Florence Scovel Shinn, which was written over 100 years ago. And this book has regained so much popularity recently. If you go to the channel, The Master Key Society, the audio version of this book has 11 million views. So why are 11 million people choosing to read a book that was written 100 years ago? It's because it contains profound insights and knowledge on how to create your desired life through metaphysical means. Now, the first big idea I want to talk about is this idea of the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind. Now, you might have heard of these 3 different terms being thrown around interchangeably, and maybe you don't know what the difference is between them. So I want to share how Florence differentiates these minds and what each mind is responsible for. The conscious mind she associates with mortality, your humanness. She says, the conscious mind has been called mortal or carnal mind. It is the human mind and sees life as it appears to be. It sees death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and limitation of every kind, and it impresses the subconscious. You see, your conscious mind deals with what has already been manifested. It deals with logic, it deals with the present reality, and it deals with limitations. And the reason it deals with limitation is because we're all programmed to see the world this way. You can't do that. That's not for you. That's for other people. It hasn't been done before. That's impossible. We hear these sayings over and over again from everybody. So we start to see reality through that lens of limitation and rules. This is a distinct trait of the conscious mind. However, the subconscious mind is different. It's the automatic part of the mind which has been taking care of you your whole life. When you think of your heartbeat, which has been beating ever since you were born, probably beating millions of times, I don't even know how many times the typical heart beats in a lifetime, that has all been done without your conscious awareness.
And it's relentless. The heart beats 100,000 times a day, 40 million times a year, and up to 3 billion times over an average lifespan.
Your breathing is a big subconscious activity. Although you could do it consciously as well, it is for the most part automatic. The regulation of your temperature. Even when you get, an injury, the cells that go there to heal, all this stuff happens automatically. A lot of people think that when they go to a doctor and they get some sort of medication or whatever, that's the thing that's healing them. No, a lot of these things are aids to facilitate the subconscious mind to heal that part of the body. That's why you have so many distinct situations where 2 people are given the same thing, one person heals, the other person doesn't. Or in some cases, someone's given a placebo, which doesn't even, do anything from the logical, scientific, conscious worldview, but that person's able to heal and recover because their subconscious mind believes that healing is possible. So the subconscious mind is in the background and is taking care of you. So what's the superconscious mind? The superconscious mind is the God mind within each man and is in the realm of perfect ideas. The superconscious mind sometimes is referred to as the universal mind or infinite intelligence by Napoleon Hill. It is this thing you can connect to, perhaps the field of higher intelligence, your direct line of communication with God. The Hermetic philosophers call this the all. So this is how it all breaks down. The conscious mind is connected to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind gets impressions from the superconscious mind. Geniuses of our time are people that have been able to become receptive to ideas from their subconscious and superconscious minds. The layman is stuck in the conscious mind. Any idea or flash that comes into their mind from something that doesn't seem logical, something that's not currently seen, they tend to ignore it, and hence they continue to create more of the same. When you look through the pages of history, the people that have really brought forth amazing discoveries, a lot of times you'll see that it wasn't done through a logical, systematic process. Often it was an accident. They might have had a daydream that came with some strange idea that they followed through, and then they found a discovery. This is all the superconscious mind, right? When you get something from a dream, when you get the flash in an instant and you know what to do, you're dealing with something higher. So that's something to pay attention to. The next big idea, it has to do with your life purpose. Now, Florence says, there is a place that you are to feel and no one else can feel. Something you are to do which no one else can do. There is a perfect picture of this in the super conscious mind. It usually flashes across the conscious as an unattainable ideal, something too good to be true. I believed this ever since I was a child, that every person has a unique destiny. They receive hints of this destiny through subconscious impressions. So these impressions can come through daydreams, as I mentioned before, just an idea you get. Maybe you watch someone speaking on stage and you all of a sudden have a vision of yourself speaking on stage. Or you see someone doing some activity that you like. Maybe they're playing tennis and you see yourself playing tennis, or whatever it could be. It could be something as mundane as playing sport, something as big as starting a huge 7-figure business, 8-figure business, or whatever have you. When you have the flash and it keeps coming and it keeps persisting, and no matter how many times you try push it aside, it keeps coming back, that could be your life purpose. Occasionally, someone decides to answer this hero's call and they embark on a journey to higher realizations. Unfortunately, the vast majority of humans on planet Earth, I feel, are not really living a life in alignment with their life purpose. The vast majority of humans on planet Earth are in a slave colony, are living a life that they feel is prudent, is something that they should do because of societal programming, which tells you that you need to do this. And if you step outside the realm of this, you are bad, you are stupid, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of shaming involved to keep you in the same line. So you see a lot of diversity amongst humans on planet Earth, but most people are doing more of the same. Slave labor for the reptilian overlords. And that's a discussion for another day. But if you want to figure out what your life purpose is, a good place to go is the silence. Eliminating outer inputs for a moment. That's not listening to a podcast, not listening to YouTube videos, not listening to music, not going on Instagram, not checking out TikTok, just spending some time in the silence with you, your thoughts. And you will start getting ideas, you start getting impulses pushing you in different directions. Now, this isn't going to happen all at once. It's not going to happen automatically. It will take a bit of time, but you will get ideas and they will come as visions, like trailers for a movie of something that could be. The next idea I want to discuss is the power of intuition. Florence talks at length about intuition. She advocates for her students to get into the habit of seeking inner guidance. This comes from the biblical idea of asking, you shall receive. If you seek inner guidance from a higher power, you will receive guidance. Now, she says, the answer will come through intuition or a hunch, a chance remark from someone, or a passage in a book. The answers are sometimes quite startling in their exactness. Now, you might have noticed this in the past. You might have had an idea to do something. Maybe you wanted to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You've been interested in getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it was just a thought that flashed in your mind. Then all of a sudden, you talk to someone who mentions that they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and they also have a trial available, and did you want to come and check this out? That's an example of intuition kind of pushing you in a direction. That's a very obvious example. But a lot of times you might see an ad. Maybe you haven't even said it to anyone and you see an ad pop up for the thing that you want to do. Or you read a book and the specific answer you're looking for is right there. This is higher guidance directing you. Once again, the problem is most people ignore this. Now, this phenomenon has been demonstrated in a lot of high performers who actually listen to the call. When you ask for an answer, one will come to you in your world. You just need to stop neglecting it. Stop being so rational and stuck in the conscious worldview. Those who answer the call are rewarded greatly. Florence gives the example of Robert Fulton, who was watching some boiling water simmering in a tea kettle, and he saw a steamboat. So he was thinking of an idea for this invention for the steamboat, and he saw the answer when water was boiling. Had Fulton neglected the intuitive guidance he got from watching the simmering kettle, he would have never invented the steamboat. I mentioned before that this is how a lot of scientists and geniuses come up with ideas. I read once in the book Shoe Dog that Phil Knight's coach, Bill Bowerman, who invented the revolutionary waffle shoe for Nike, he had the idea from watching his wife ironing. Shape of the iron was this waffle kind of pattern, and that was the solution he needed for his shoe. So he asked, and the world provided, but the world's going to give you answers in ways that might seem a bit strange or foreign to you. The next big concept is this idea of God is your supply. What does that mean? It means to understand that any circumstance can change through a change of faith. The seemingly impossible situations of the outside world can rearrange themselves rapidly for your benefit. Any adversity can be overcome through understanding the malleability of the external world. This idea was actually highlighted in the Sermon on the Mount. I like this quote here. It says, "Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they?" And that's actually Matthew 6:26. The other day I was walking with my girlfriend, and we heard this little kitten. It was in the bushes, and it was kind of making this noise like meow, meow, meow. You filming? That's it? So what we did is we went to the local grocery store and we bought some salmon. You know, they had the cat food, wild caught salmon. And we returned and fed the cat, and the cat was very happy. It actually ate so much that it couldn't finish the other batch of salmon that we gave it. We gave it so much food. That's just a small example of how things sometimes come out of nowhere. And that's from the cat's perspective. This cat was stranded, and these giant alien human things came out of nowhere and fed it. And it was okay and ready to go for another week or so. Every creature on earth is born with the ability to survive and thrive. You are born with the tools to take care of yourself. You also have an abundance of resources that are there for your benefit. I was reading this book about this guy that was stranded in the bush, and he was really worried about food because he was used to, getting lots of meals prepared for him, and now that he was in the bush with no one around, he thought he was going to die from starvation. But it took him only one day to realize that there's so much abundance in the forest, in the bush, so many fruits that he could eat, water, and he was able to survive quite easily and sleep because there is more than enough for everybody. And there is a force that is taking care of you. Now, you don't have to believe in God as being a man in the sky who's looking after you. It could be just a universal energy. It could be, if you're more scientific, maybe evolutionary adaptations that are going to help you. So there is a supply. There are tools for you that are going to help you survive. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. You're going to be taken care of, and this is very liberating, right? It's very liberating. Have you ever noticed how your worst fears that you entertain in your mind almost never materialize? Think about all the things you worried about, that you feared, that you were scared about. Most of those things didn't come true. Or when they did, you always found a way to cope and change in the circumstance, right? You were able to manage. It seems that Marcus Aurelius was right when he said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within your way of thinking." Take, for instance, the lockdowns of 2020, a bleak time which looked like terrible for everybody in the world. Like it was the end of the world. I remember at the time it seemed like the horrors would never end, that we were gonna be in this dystopian, prison or the stuff that was happening forever. But things moved on. The vast majority of people have actually forgotten about everything that happened back then. This is the nature of life, transience and rhythm. Every situation brings forth an opportunity for expansion. You simply need to remember that God is your supply and not outside circumstances. The outside circumstances change quickly and can vanish overnight. You can go from being broke to a multi-millionaire by finding the right opportunity within a matter of months or years. A lot of people talk about this. It's often the small hinges which swing big doors. The next idea I want to talk about is personal rituals of success. Man must prepare for the thing he has asked for when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight. And this goes back to this idea of faith. Now you have accepted God as your supply. You must start acting as if your dream has already been realized. Neville Goddard talks about this quite a lot, saying that assume the wish fulfilled. This change happens through preparing for the demonstration before you see it. I recently watched an interesting video where the MMA fighter Conor McGregor explained how he would wear fake Rolexes before he could afford real ones. And this works for some people where they put on perhaps fake designer clothes, or they buy themselves real designer clothes, or they rent a Ferrari or whatever it might be in order to create that feeling of prosperity within them, which then helps them act in that particular way. It makes them more real. Or they go into a dealership or shop in places that they can't afford but assume that they can afford it. All these things make it real in your mind. And if you don't do those things, you can also just imagine. Now, during his iconic run in the UFC, Conor was later gifted a Rolex by the billionaire Fertitta brothers.
I won the bout, a knockout in the first round. It was a mega successful event. We all went out for dinner with the Fertitta family, and they gifted me this Rolex. It was my first real watch. Before that, I was at the press conference wearing a fake one.
The world has a funny way of reflecting our inner states. It's almost as if the universe suffers from cognitive dissonance when you begin to behave as if you have something. It's almost like the universe looks at you and says, why is this person acting this way? And why are they so consistent with it? There is an imbalance here. We need to give them that thing, because a vacuum is created that needs to be resolved. Circumstances will begin to shift until there is consistency between your inner and outer world. The last thing I want to talk about is the power of words. Now, Florence says, through his spoken word, man is continually making laws for himself. Faith also requires you pay greater attention to your words, because your words are actually a derivative of your thoughts. Now, there's this quote I heard from the Hermetica, which says, speech is an image of mind, and mind is an image of God. So speech being an image of mind, it shows you a snapshot of what you're thinking about. So that's why you have to pay attention to your words, because they're showing you your current beliefs. And your current beliefs are what are creating your current life. The words you speak suddenly create rules for you. Words become spells. Hence why Florence would later go on to write a book called Your Word is Your Wand. Stop speaking words which imply lack. If your goal, for example, is to be wealthy, then saying something like, I can't afford that, is not really productive. Robert Kiyosaki really emphasized this point in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said to change your words. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, say, how can I afford it? Because that opens up the possibility of you attaining that thing that you want. It changes the way that your mind works and also connects you with that superconscious mind, because you're now looking for solutions. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, it's kind of like, that's just the end of it. How can I afford it? You're asking a question, you're creating a vacuum, and that vacuum needs to be closed. Or you could even say something like, I can afford that, but I won't commit to it right now, which is better. The words you use influence your subconscious mind, which in turn influences your connection to the superconscious or God. And those are my big ideas from Florence Scovel Shin's The Game of Life and how to play it.